people assume all your problems got solved because a big, strong man showed up?
My reflection's gone. I wonder if the guys figured out it's not me.
It's definitely not her! It's definitely not her!
Good day, my fellow warriors of life. I pray you are conquering any fearsome typhoon life has been beating down on you. We are living through such spiritually exhausting times. Today, I wish to relate some personal, deeply tender experiences while discussing a topic that has been weighing heavily on my heart. Let's talk about how real toxic masculinity is really about destroying the femininity in women. Specifically, I would like to point out how it causes misery in women, and how we cannot escape the messaging about this from almost all new and upcoming media. To begin, we must address what toxic masculinity even is.
Like, there's toxic masculinity, and I feel like that's usually when I look at a person, I'm like, okay, that, like, the masculinity is showing, you know? That's why I'm like, in moderation.
Wait, so you're saying when masculinity is apparent or showing, that equals toxic masculinity?
No, it's just sometimes it's, like, a little excessive, and that's usually when I, like, notice it.
What is excessive masculinity?
You know, like, I need this, like, big old car. It's like, okay, you're compensating for something.
Compensating for what?
A lot of things, I can tell you that much.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. List it.
The term originated in the mythopoetic men's movement in the 80s and 90s, although discussions in the last decade on it has popularized it. Toxic masculinity is meant to refer to social pressures placed on men to be violent, competitive, independent, and unfeeling. Academically, there is merit to the idea that there are norms and expectations of men that can be harmful. Masculinity in itself is not condemned, neither are men or male attributes. You might be thinking, but I usually hear a lot more negativity around the nature of men when it comes to this topic. And I agree. Even reading past the baseline and definition of toxic masculinity on a Wikipedia article puts a bad taste in my mouth, as I can see a clear contempt toward men. You can see how it has been weaponized by feminist extremists to claim we don't need men and that all men are pigs. I can't help but sympathize with men feeling so very worn out on being told their inherent masculine traits are toxic. This comment says, "The sad irony in women saying masculinity is bad because men don't talk about their feelings is that a lot of the time when men voice their emotions or talk about the struggles of being a man, those same women will laugh and play down your issue as not being real. I find men are more supportive of me opening up emotionally rather than women. I've had girlfriends laugh at me being upset. Now I prefer to think in terms that anyone is capable of toxic behavior, and it has little to do with stemming from masculinity or femininity as a whole."
At what point does masculinity become toxic masculinity?
Notice it's all the badder girls that like the more masculine guys. Just keep that in mind.
If they're too demanding,
arrogant,
overwhelming, egotistical.
Or when it becomes unbalanced and they use that masculine energy as power.
I feel like it's when they let that masculinity become their only personality trait and they almost feel...
That's so ironic coming from this one.
I can't stand the term toxic masculinity because it's so unfair. Because toxicity is something that any person, any human being can have that as a trait. I'm saying it's not fair. I'm sick of this toxic masculinity label.
The behavior towards men led me to believe toxic masculinity is not real and a tool to alienate women from men. But the more I think about it, the more I realize it absolutely is real, but not in the way you have been told. This is what real toxic masculinity is. It is telling women to reject their femininity and feminine roles. It is telling women they are incapable of finding success without aborting their children. It is telling women they don't need men, or heck, they don't need to lean on anyone to find happiness.
Do we need men?
No.
Do we need men?
Honestly, no.
Do we need men?
No.
Why?
Because they suck.
It's telling women contradictions that they need to be better mothers, but also to climb corporate ladders to the top. It's telling women we need to occupy every space a man does in order to have equality and empowerment, and, by extension, any worth. In short, we are being told to reject our very basic biological programming and to walk away from our God-given purposes to pursue things that are vapid, empty, and meaningless. Before I go further, I want to clarify that equal rights and opportunities between both sexes is important. I know each person has a road paved for them in places that may be unique to them. I am grateful to the women who occupied places that may not be traditional to them. Of course, there are women who have made significant contributions in STEM, medical, and political fields. I fear that, however, in our efforts to legitimize the pursuits of these women, we have swung the pendulum so far in the other direction that now we are delegitimizing the traditional women. We are cheapening the miracle in our natural biology. We are mocking the very purpose of womanhood.
I'm gonna ever stop to consider that some of us did not want to leave the kitchen. Like, I would make all the sandwiches and grab all the beers if it meant I could stay home. I'd be content with that. I don't want a man in my kitchen spraying the Pam all over the counters or seasonings covering it. Can't multitask and clean as they go. I'd just be more stressed about the state that they leave my kitchen in. Stay out of my kitchen and I will stay out of the workplace. I'd be okay with that. I don't want equality. Obviously, I don't want someone to physically hurt me, but I don't want to sit there and split all the bills. I want to be someone's dainty princess, feminine princess. I want them to come home after a hard day, they see me, they kiss me, and all their stress just melts away. Dinner ready on the table when he comes home, and he says this smells delicious, it's the best meal I've ever had, enjoys every last bite, tells me how much he loves me. That's what I want. I don't want equality. You can have the workplace.
Never been harder than now to be a trad wife. The whole world has rallied against us, telling us that we need to be CEOs, doctors, lawyers, and yet we still choose to rebel. The only software I know about is my oven mitt. The term IT means ironing time in my world. When I hear the phrase CRM, I think cooking recipes for men. And what about that is so bad, America? If you're like me and choose this edgy alternative lifestyle, feel free to buy my course.
Speaking as a woman, I can rightly say I feel intense pressure from the media to reject my nature of femininity and to embrace masculine roles. Today, women have never had more freedom than they do now to pursue their goals in Western culture. There are more women than men taking steps toward college degrees. Yet, according to a 2009 study entitled The Paradox of Declining Female Happiness, reported these findings. 1. Since 1972, women in the United States have become less happy, both absolutely and relatively to men. 2. The decline in women's happiness is a trend seen across groups, both working and stay-at-home moms, for those married and divorced, the young and old, and across the education spectrum. And 3. These trends appeared across industrialized countries for which there are sufficient happiness data. Psychology Today asks, what's driving these results? The publication asserts the reason is likely derived from a cultural mentality where women believe their happiness is conditional upon acquiring goals, kids, a promotion, etc. I think there is definitely a truth to this presumption, but more likely I believe it to be consistent messaging from media and society that we must do everything all at once. Maybe there are women out there who maintain bombshell figures and makeup while beating up 300-pound muscle men. Maybe there are women who manage to raise decent children with or without a husband while running a multi-million-dollar corporation. Props to those extraordinary women. That's the key word, extraordinary. They are few and far between. The rest of us are left to contemplate why we can't live up to any of these measurements society expects of us. Or if we do, we wonder why we feel so miserable. I can't speak for all women, but I'd like to speak on behalf of women like me. Women who are absolutely sick and tired of being belittled for more traditional choices. For women who can't stand the misery they are feeling any longer for criticisms on all sides. For women who may have fallen prey to the narrative and feel an empty hole inside them that just can't seem to be filled. For all women who are meant to have joy while they fulfill the measure of their creation. Here is my personal experience. From my earliest memory, I can remember I knew I wanted to grow up and be a mom. How could any job rival the molding of people and forming the next generation? It is the most important job on this planet. No other job perpetuates our species or teaches values or disciplines the future formation of societies the way motherhood can. Of course, I could still have hobbies and skills and passions outside of parenting. In fact, I do. But none will ever fulfill me the way watching a beautiful, young, tiny human develops and becomes their own personality. You can imagine the hurt I have felt over the countless interactions around me when people asked me what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a mom, I would proudly say. That's not a real job, some would retort. No, I mean a real job, others would scoff. You'll waste your potential, said the more scathing. The world is populated enough as it is. You're going to be irresponsible. Over time, it was easier for me to say, I want to be a writer, or film director, or any number of other ambitions I have had.
Our original opening that went into boarding was not the way that I always pitched it. It was this idea that you saw the family first as people and then kind of gradually revealed that they were superheroes. So we started this thing at what we thought was a good American kind of way to start it, and that's him getting to know the neighbors at a neighborhood barbecue.
Young married couple, new in the neighborhood.
Right, and they're making jokes, trying to fit in, and someone says something to Helen.
A commodities broker, that sounds intriguing.
Well, it can be quite a challenge, but I gotta be honest, I eat it for breakfast. And what do you do, Helen?
I'm a homemaker.
This is based on a thing that my wife has had to go through. She worked in film editing, and when we first had our kids, there was a decision about whether or not she should continue working because she made good money. And I said, look, as long as we can bring in enough money, it'd be great to have the kids have a mother around all the time. And we made it work. But one thing that she noticed was that when you were talking about work, everyone could connect with that. Everyone got it, everyone, you know, hey, you're another fellow working person, isn't it, you know, this difficult and all that. Once she said that she, you know, was a mother, or that she worked in the house, their eyes glazed over and they kind of dismissed what she did.
Throw away my prime years trailing after a bunch of snotty kids? No thank you. Hello, no thanks. Hello, I want to do something with my life.
Wait a minute. You consider raising a family nothing?
I love the idea of a superhero defending, you know, being a mom. Yeah. So I like that moment, and I'm sorry that we don't have something like that in the movie.
Helen, Bob, meet Beth Anderson. Beth's a commodities broker down at Philippi Investments.
Oh, a commodities broker. That sounds intriguing.
Well, it can be quite a challenge, but I gotta be honest, I eat it for breakfast. And what do you do, Helen?
I'm a homemaker. Well, we only have one child, but she can be quite demanding, can't you, little boo-boo? You know, but motherhood is really much more demanding than I ever thought it could be.
Oh, hey, Bob, I'd like you to meet,
Dick Schaefer.
Hey, Dick. Bob Smith. And this is my wife, Helen.
Pleased to meet you, Helen.
Hi, Dick.
Dick's thinking about buying the house across the street.
Well, everybody on the block loves that house.
Hey, everybody on the block has that house.
It was nice meeting you, Dick.
Hey, Bob, can you give me a hand chopping up these steaks?
Sure.
Throw away my prime years trailing after a bunch of snotty kids? No thank you. Hello, no thanks. Hello, I want to do something with my life.
Wait a minute. You consider raising a family nothing?
Well, it's fine if you're not suited for more substantial things.
Do you have any idea how much suffering would fail to take root if more people were just good parents?
Well,
What's more important than that? What kind of job? A job saving lives? Is that important?
Yeah.
What about risking my life?
Well,
What about confronting evil on a daily basis for years so that people like you can sleep in safety and security? Would you consider that kind of job substantial?
I would. Yes, I would.
Well, that's the job I gave up for my new job, raising a family. And nobody's gonna tell me it's any less important.
I'm sorry to say all 4 of my sisters can share the same heartaches and stories with you as their desires for motherhood were scorned or dismissed, to the point that they felt embarrassed for feeling the way they did. I'm proud to say all of them are excellent mothers, and motherhood has not stopped them from enjoying things they are passionate about. Unfortunately for me, I have yet to partake in this dream of mine. I'm nearing my 28th birthday, and I can tell you that while I have felt happiness in experiencing the things I have since high school, I have felt a level of absolute torment as I pursued careers in college and spent year after year working for companies that I always put my best effort into, yet none batted an eye when I would inevitably have to leave for one reason or another. When I was not able to pursue motherhood immediately, I began to question what my purpose even was. I got caught up in the idea that I should be a career woman, and spent more than enough time confused and lost. All of this was only to come back to my senses and remember that all I ever wanted, deep, deep down, was to be a mom.
Society talks about moms sacrificing their lives.
Yeah.
I didn't sacrifice my life. I had the best life. Everything that I had, I was pouring out on you. It was a rich life. My days were rich. My nights singing, "Turn your eyes upon Jesus" 2 billion times. That wasn't a burden. How many times did the presence of God come into that little room? You know, that's life.
All the moments I have nannied my nieces and nephews, all the times I have babysat for others, all the meals I have cooked or baked, all the places I have cleaned, and all the hugs I have given have fulfilled me far more than any of the hobbies I hold dear to my heart. I went to film school the last 3 years with the intention of becoming a writer and director, with the hope I could create good stories that weren't so politically charged and also represented healthier family structures. Perhaps there will be a day later in my life when such an opportunity would occur, but for now it feels right to prepare myself for a family. When I expressed this decision to some of my associates from school, I was a little taken aback by their visceral reactions. They lashed out in anger, saying I was being stupid, that the economy is far too expensive for me to be a stay-at-home mother, as if the low pay and 16-hour days of filmmaking were more important.
Since my goal is to be a wife and a mother, and I'm not sure that I'm going to have a career, how can
That is a career.
How can I serve my country doing that best?
You serve your country by teaching your children to love God and country. Don't ever say that being a mother is not a career. Being a mother is the most honorable career and profession. Every single one of those 10,000 that are laid to rest at that cemetery overlooking Omaha Beach, they had a mother that raised them to do what is right. You know, my mother had a saying. She said, "A man must stand for something or else he'll fall for anything." We need moms to raise up true American patriots, men and women that will stand and fight. So never put yourself down. Be the strong fighter and raise up the next generation of Americans. And I'm honored that you would step to the microphone and speak with me.
Thank you so much.
About the fact that we always lie to young women about what's going to be important in their lives. We tell them it's going to be all career. Said, you know, I've worked in female-dominated industries my whole life, and what I've observed is, among men and women alike, that it's a very rare person for whom career is the most important thing in their life, even if they're men, although it's true for more men. It's true for virtually no women by the time they hit 30. And the amount of vitriol that comment generated was unparalleled, and that's something, because I've had plenty of vitriol generated from things I said, but it was all young women, you know, talking about how some old white guy like me had no right to tell young women what to do with their bodies, which I most certainly was not. But it is, you can see a simple pathway there, right? It's like, well, we have this avenue where we can pursue our career and our education and everything else we want, and then we'll be able to solve the problem of having a family. The problem with that is, well, it's hard enough to find a mate when you're 23, 24. By the time you're 30, it's even more difficult. And by the time you're 35, it's starting to become well nigh impossible to find a mate and get pregnant and have a family, especially if you're going to have more than one kid. And so, so there's a direct conflict there between the avenues that are open to women and the need to strike while the iron's hot on the reproductive front. Nobody really knows how to reconcile that. I mean, it's odd, because women will live about 7 years longer than men. So it could be the case that the societal norm could be that women have their children when they're quite young and then go back to school in their 30s. That would actually work out. In principle, that could work out quite nicely, but we don't have the norms in place to make that a possibility.
But we have to start addressing exactly this, because if we don't, to me, I mean, there's so many ideas today about reproductive technology that are overstated.
Oh,
the idea,
yes,
freeze your eggs, and age 40, if you have a partner and if you still have energy, that you might then.
Yes, and everything goes well.
Yeah, if everything goes well.
And you have the money.
Yeah,
and the emotional stamina.
All of that. So part of what I'm hoping to do through the documentary and my work after this is to just increase awareness, particularly to women, but you need a man as well, so it's both, that the fertility window is much shorter and the ability to have children gets harder and harder and harder. It's not just about getting pregnant, it's about being able to deliver, being able to see the pregnancy through to, which gets exponentially harder very, very quickly. I should mention, I interviewed 5 fertility doctors for the documentary itself. And, each one of them wanted to open up about the challenges, because normally they have to sell their services.
Right.
Normally they have to tell people, think positively, here's what we've done for other people, here's what we think we can do for you.
Yeah.
What they were telling to me openly, I'm frankly getting quite emotional about, and on a couple of occasions, was it's terrible because so often it doesn't work out.
Well, 1 in 3 couples by the age of 30 have pronounced fertility problems, defined as inability to conceive within a year of embarking on the endeavor consciously, right? So that's 1 in 3. And of course, it just gets worse and worse as age creeps up. And 30 is not that old. And it does mean that women have a damn tight window. It's 13 years, let's say, by the time you're 17. By some standards, you're mature enough to consider reproduction, 17 or 18, and on the extreme end, and then 35 is the other end of that distribution, and you're playing with fire by the time you're delaying, especially if you don't have a partner, by the time you're delaying till 35.
Especially if you want 3 children,
Yeah, well, right. I'm thinking just 1, and it's also the case. I think if you're a reasonable observer of human nature, you see that people have 3 sources of fundamental gratification in their lives. One is the pursuit of their own interests, including career and job. One is their intimate relationship, and the other is their family. And obviously, the intimate relationship and the family are very integrally associated. And if you miss out on one of those, you may be able to fill it by exceptional ability in the remaining domains. But for most people, not only is that highly unlikely, it's also highly undesirable.
A mom is a chauffeur, a nutritionist, a caregiver, an artist, a storyteller, a musician, a chef, a teacher, and so much more. A survey conducted by the New York Post in 2019 found that being a mom is the equivalent of 2.5 full-time jobs through 97 hours a week of parenting. To make time for their children, moms make a variety of sacrifices. Moms are left with less than an hour of me time per day. If moms were paid for all the time they spend parenting, they would be making an incredible $100,460 per year. The attitude toward motherhood and women embracing their inner femininity is truly disgusting.
La la la, whatever, la la la, it doesn't matter, la la la, oh well, la la la. You better be joking.
In any other context throughout human history, and if you look at just how people naturally are wired, there is a biological, natural urge that a lot of women have, which is a beautiful thing, to want to nurture children. Our society, we are seemingly hell-bent on squashing it. That is really sad because the entire future of civilization is dependent on strong families and children. Never, ever, ever let anyone shame you or apologize for the desire to be a mother, because there are few things more precious or important on earth than cultivating new human life.
Everyone screaming at me for being traditional claims I am not being accepting for quote-unquote who they are. And I have to ask, why aren't they being accepting of who I am? In a talk called Womanhood, the Highest Place of Honor by James E. Faust, he said, "One of your unique, precious, and sublime gifts is your femininity, with its natural grace, goodness, and divinity. Femininity is not just lipstick, stylish hairdos, and trendy clothes. It is the divine adornment of humanity. It finds expression in your qualities, of your capacity to love, your spirituality, delicacy, radiance, sensitivity, creativity, charm, graciousness, gentleness, dignity, and quiet strength. It is manifest differently in each girl or woman, but each of you possess it. Femininity is part of your inner beauty."
To all of our mothers everywhere, past, present, or future, I say thank you. Thank you for giving birth, for shaping souls, for forming character, and for demonstrating the pure love of Christ. To Mother Eve, to Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel, to Mary of Nazareth, and to a mother in heaven, I say thank you for your crucial role in fulfilling the purposes of eternity. To all mothers in every circumstance, including those who struggle and all will, I say, be peaceful. Believe in God and yourself. You are doing better than you think you are. In fact, you are saviors on Mount Zion. And like the master you follow, your love never faileth. I can pay no higher tribute to anyone.
In order to be born, you needed 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, 32 third-great-grandparents, 64 fourth-great-grandparents, 128 fifth-great-grandparents, 256 sixth-great-grandparents, 512 seventh-great-grandparents, 1,024 eighth-great-grandparents, and 2,048 ninth-great-grandparents. Over the past 12 generations, spanning approximately 400 years, you needed a total of 4,094 ancestors to come into existence. We are the result of thousands of lives, choices, and sacrifices that came before us. This reminds us how precious and unique our existence is. A gift shaped by generations of ancestors. Honor their legacy by living with purpose and gratitude.
With each new film release of a leading female protagonist, I can't help but notice she must be physically powerful and or smart in every way. She is not allowed to make mistakes, and she doesn't need help from anyone.
Your transformations are triggered by anger and fear.
Those are like the baseline of any woman just existing. You could be an Avenger.
Oh, I'm not a superhero. That is for billionaires and narcissists.
All the while, everyone claps like mindless seals. Meanwhile, the men are all either A, absentee fathers,
Go to court this afternoon.
Fletcher, it's his birthday.
Also made him an unpredictable father.
He said he was gonna be here, he promised.
B, portrayed as a busy dad who spends all his time at the office, and that's considered bad even though when the women do it, they are praised, and C, bumbling, incompetent idiots.
You can't leave me alone with those kids!
We had a deal, Lois. You are in charge of the spiritual and emotional development, discipline and scary injuries. I kill spiders, mark their heights on the door frames, and supply car snacks.
With men portrayed that way, of course, the women would believe they don't need no man. An easy comparison on the shift of the portrayal of women can be seen with the Disney princesses. In recent years, we have added Raya, a woman who shows hatred towards children and thinks she is better than everyone else, but was heavily considered a bad A-word and a great representative of East Asians because she is a phenomenal martial artist. Why would we elevate such a cruel character as a great role model for girls? How many girls are going to become master martial artists just because they watched Raya? Mulan is a far better example of a woman taking on a masculine role because of her circumstances. By all accounts, she still maintains her beauty and femininity, while she selflessly enters the military to protect her drafted father, who was still struggling from an old war wound. She has to be more creative in her fighting and work even harder to keep up with the men. Ultimately, it was because of her creative thinking that saved China, and not because she was more powerful than men. I cannot tell you how annoyed I get when people purport that Snow White, Cinderella, and other princesses like Belle are weak or were waiting for a prince to save them. They may not be swashbuckling, sword-toting heroes, but they show greater strength and resilience by remaining kind and hardworking, regardless of their circumstances. They show deeper bravery than I have seen in other people, regardless of sex. In a talk called The Moral Force of Women by D. Todd Christofferson, he says, "A concern comes from those who in the name of equality want to erase all differences between the masculine and the feminine. Often this takes the form of pushing women to adopt more masculine traits, to be more aggressive, tough, and confrontational. It is now common to see women in terribly violent roles, leaving dead bodies and mayhem in their wake. It is soul-numbing to see men in such roles, and certainly no less so when women are ones perpetuating and suffering the violence. You can deny that such programming exists, but boy does it. I cannot escape it anywhere. I can't help but think of Luisa from Disney's Encanto. She is a girl given the magical ability to be physically strong. She can lift houses and stack donkeys on her shoulders. What I find interesting is Luisa begins to fall apart emotionally over the course of the film due to societal expectations of her to always be stoic and strong. They expect her to be perfect. In short, she is experiencing exactly what a lot of women are experiencing today. She is expected to take on masculine roles of burdens and leadership. In her song, Surface Pressure, we can examine the emotional pressure she is under in lines like these. I don't ask how hard the work is. Got a rough, indestructible surface. Under the surface, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service. Give it to your sister's older. Give her all the heavy things we can't shoulder. Under the surface, I think about my purpose. Can I somehow preserve this? You can see Luisa wants to embrace the real her, the feminine parts of her, the parts that take care of herself. But wait, if I could shake the crushing weight of expectations, would that free some room up for joy or relaxation or simple pleasure? I know Disney was certainly not talking about masculinity in the song, but I can't help but see it in that light. I'll go ahead and put the full lyrics in the description along with a link to this song if you want to take a look. I have been long-winded, and yet there's so much more that could be discussed on this topic, so I just want to leave you with a couple more things before we go on our merry way. First, I want to reiterate that I am not dismissing women who do more masculine things. In fact, I don't attribute gender roles to most activities. My point comes down to that women like me who choose to embrace our feminine natures are mocked for doing so. We are insulted by being told we are being brainwashed by the patriarchy for choosing to be the way we are. Quite frankly, we are exhausted by the 24/7 messaging in every new movie, show, video game, book, and social media posts pushing women into one direction. There is room for all of us in this world. One of my favorite episodes of Tangled, the series, showcases the two women approaching obstacles in different ways. Rapunzel is gracefully elegant while Cassandra approaches them in a more girl boss way. Both approaches can exist, guys, but remember, the general populace of women are simply going to be feminine. Margaret D. Nadald taught, "The world has enough women who are tough. We need women who are tender. There are enough women who are coarse. We need women who are kind. There are enough women who are rude. We need women who are refined. We have enough women of fame and fortune. We need more women of faith. We have enough greed. We need more goodness. We have enough vanity. We need more virtue. We have enough popularity. We need more purity. In blurring feminine and masculine differences, we lose the distinct complementary gifts of women and men that together produce a greater whole. Women are considered the crowning jewel of God's creation. Let's start treating them that way. Let me leave you with a beautifully written story about the creation of woman and what she is capable of. When God created woman, he was working late on the 6th day. An angel came by and asked, "Why spend so much time on her?" The Lord answered, "Have you seen all the specifications I have to meet to shape her? She must function in all kinds of situations. She must be able to embrace several kids at the same time, have a hug that can heal anything from a bruised knee to a broken heart. She must do all this with only 2 hands. She cures herself when sick and can work 18 hours a day." The angel was impressed. "Just 2 hands? Impossible! And this is the standard model?" The angel came closer and touched the woman. "But you have made her so soft, Lord." "She is soft," said the Lord, "but I have made her strong. You can't imagine what she can endure and overcome." "Can she think?" the angel asked. The Lord answered, "Not only can she think, she can reason and negotiate." The angel touched her cheeks. "Lord, it seems this creation is leaking. You have put too many burdens on her." "She is not leaking. It is a tear," the Lord corrected the angel. "What's it for?" asked the angel. The Lord said, "Tears are her way of expressing her grief, her doubts, her love, her loneliness, her suffering, and her pride." This made a big impression on the angel. "Lord, you are a genius. You thought of everything. A woman is indeed marvelous." The Lord said, "Indeed she is. She has strength that amazes a man. She can handle trouble and carry heavy burdens. She holds happiness, love, and opinions. She smiles when she feels like screaming. She sings when she feels like crying, cries when happy, and laughs when afraid. She fights for what she believes in. Her love is unconditional. Her heart is broken when a next of kin or a friend dies, but she finds strength to get on with life." The angel asked, "So she is a perfect being?" The Lord replied, "No, she has just one drawback. She often forgets what she is worth." This has been Rollo Descendant, and may I be a voice for women who are exhausted, for women who just want to be who they were meant to be.